I'm Mike, former Hell's Angel in Fresno, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chattin with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Mike Lynch. So how long do these meetings last back then?
It depends, certain subject matters, because the guy, sometimes we beat the hell out of a subject, 2-3 hours when it should have been 2 or 3 minutes. But then it comes up and there are certain people that want clarity. There's a lot of guys that have been there for a while. They don't want to leave there not knowing. They want clarity. They want it out of your mouth. They go, okay, let's be clear about this, and da. Now, are we going to adopt this policy? It's policies, it's rules, it's problems within ourselves that we need to cure so that we can get better in the future. So things are discussed. I haven't really been in, like 2 or 3 hours minimum, 3 hours up to 10. If it gets a little warm in there, then, you got to take a break and then come back in. And sometimes, the fellas didn't see eye to eye, and they had to get that out of their systems and then get back to business. Like I said, it's no picnic if you're into what we do, and not just the parties. Business is business, and I'll tell you, it's a rough crowd. They very serious about what they do, and I found that out, and I became that after a while. I just like no nonsense. I wasn't chitty chatty. I was just like
not time for fucking around, basically.
Well, I just became what I became. It's just like now I'm I'm a monster, and everything I do has got to be perfect, and everything which that's me because I have to answer to somebody. So I thought that putting the best foot forward and being disciplined and doing everything that we could possibly do, now even as members, I lost a couple guys they just couldn't keep up with it. This I can't do every weekend. I can't do that. Well, hey, then I learned that we split the guys up. We would go south or north or to the coast or whatever, but I'd send 2 or 3 guys here, 2 or 3 of us would go here and 2. So that way, no matter what you were doing that day, there was a Fresno member there and a prospect or whatever, represent. And that's what you're there to do.
How long into you getting your patch do they tell you that they want you to be the secretary or not the treasurer? My bad. Not the secretary,
No.
the treasurer.
That's the other channel. Come on. No, it was what had happened is Fresno caught a legal case over another club, and the whole thing should never happen, but it did.
They over another club?
Well, there was another club got in some problems, and a couple of my guys were there, and things got out of hand. So then we caught a gang enhancement case early on. So when this is going on, we got legal problems. Well, anyway, because it was a club problem, we had to ask for financial help to get all these attorneys and pay for what it was going to take to defend ourselves, right? So I wrote up a motion. I presented it to the club. They said, okay. They gave me the money. And then what I did was I kept track of every penny. This went to this went to this, paperwork, the copies of this, private investigators. You got all these things are involved in a legal case, and you're not out there paying somebody to do this. You're doing the footwork and all that by yourself because number one, you should, because it educates you. Number two is it saves money, getting involved in your own defense,
Yeah,
well,
then having some lawyer do it all, right?
Well,
lawyer.
So anyway, when we got done, I every month gave a statement and we paid the money back. And well, then one day, the treasurer says, "Hey, I'm gone. I'm done. Can't handle it no more." So then this position's open. And like I said, that's when a couple senior members approached me and said, "Hey, if we had something for you to do, would you do it?" And I said, "Well, if it's club related, yeah." And then I asked them what, and they said, "No, you're fucking, you know what I mean? You're new. You don't have no right to ask a senior member shit." Well, then we went to our monthly meeting and all of a sudden it came up and I went, "Oh no." And he says, "We want that guy." And then another guy from Reno who was he still is top dog in Reno to this day. Very smart, very financially savvy. But they voted and I became the treasurer, and the job is such that every year when the vote came up, blah, 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 everybody just kind of hid out. I swear to God, everybody had to go to the bathroom at the same time. "Oh, we need, does anybody want to do the treasurer? We got somebody else up." Next thing you know, I look around, there's nobody there.
Because they don't want to do it, right?
No, they don't want it. Who wants to handle the money with this group?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, and I did it and I did the best I could. And, towards the end there, everything was, too much stress. I was falling apart. I just, I wasn't getting help and our workload ended up being more and more and more. And, then the club was changing, as Pee Wee said, we noticed things after we'd been there 7-8 months or years that things started changing. It wasn't like that no more. And then me chasing down money and chasing down certain individuals that, like, "Hey man, we all know what day we got to pay. We know what's coming up. We're notified months in advance. On this day, this much is due to either a run site or to a lawyer or to whatever the business was." So when you came to that meeting, you came prepared. Okay, well, what happens if 100% of the guys don't do their fair deal? And let's say I got 2 or 3 that are outstanding. Well, that's a lot of money that I'm supposed to pay somebody, and I can't pay them the full amount because somebody was short or, "Oh, hey, I'll catch you next." No, there ain't no catching me next time.
And was it the same people all the time? Was it the same people all the time?
There was a couple that you could count on. They would, but there was a lot of brothers in there. If they, and it's, they're not lying to me, "Oh man, I forgot this." Right. He goes, "I'll tell you what, as soon as I get home, I'll blah, 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 and blah. And depending on who it was, I said, "No problem." So let's say this is Saturday. On Monday morning, I got the funds in the bank. They kept their word. Now, naturally, like with anybody, there's going to be 1 or 2 that are going to be a pain in the ass. And, and just for me, after 10 years, 9 years of doing it, it just started wearing on me. I was tired of being stressed out. I was tired of worrying about money. I was tired of answering for people, like, I'm not the policeman. I'm a pencil pusher, guys. I keep track of shit and I make sure people get paid, people get done, and our financial business is on track every fucking day.
Have you seen people get kicked out of the Hells Angels for not paying their dues?
As individuals, an individual, in a charter that doesn't, he keeps being, and that next, he's down this ridiculous amount, which I feel like, fuck. I mean, if 2 months is all I'm going to give you, and there was guys that would milk it. Cause like I said, like with every organization, there's going to be somebody that tests those boundaries. And if there's no repercussion, then they keep doing it. Well, I passed some motions that if you didn't do this as a charter, you got fined. And then on this second time, if you did it, then I wrote another motion is you owe double, right? Maybe that'll stop them. You owe us $1,000 for this. We'll make it 2,000. And if you didn't pay that, then you had to come explain to the powers that be why you're not paying your bills. If you have a severe legal case, you're missing some members, people are sick. I mean, there's always circumstances that are legit. Okay. But like I said, in any big organization, there's always got to be that one that tries. And, that's why I set in place some of the rules that I did.
So say they get fined double, right? Is what happens if they don't pay it still?
Well, I never had anybody do that, but I would just go ahead and give you my estimate. It wouldn't be good. And nobody wants to freeze a charter in our thing because of non-participation, non-payments, non-this, non-that. There's things that you could freeze a charter over, and it's been done. I saw it happen a few times.
So when you freeze a charter, what's that mean?
It means that you're no longer able to conduct business as Hell's Angel Charter anymore. You're frozen, and then the powers that be are going to have to decide whether we want to keep these, we want to send new personnel up there, or whatever it is that is decided, or do we really don't like to just completely get rid of anything.
What happens to the members, though? Do they still get to operate as members?
If they're a member that was a shithead, then you're gone. If you're a member that was trying, then you're given the opportunity to go to another charter and function with them until the problem straightens out,
Now, you've been a president for a while, long time, right?
I would off and on, like I said, in Fresno, and then I was vice president down in Santa Barbara, because I had experience with the legal and money and these things. I went to everywhere, and I knew so many people. When I prospected that long, you get to know East Coast, West Coast, Alaska. I mean, all these guys knew me, and so we could talk and get things done, and that was the way to do it. Agree to disagree. Let's get this thing done, and that way the machine keeps moving. But
do you ever put a member's patch in a box?
I did. I put one of my guys just got out there and loved him to death, and you got to have him because everybody needs one like him. But God damn it, boy, he would just. And then finally I said, okay, 30 days, patch in a box, clean up your shit, quit fucking, and I think he got a kick out of watching me lose my mind. I think it was a kind of a thrill. But then once it became, I got mad. I said, hey, look, man, come on. There's more to this job than you think. It's hard, so kind of cooperate with me if you would, But yeah, I did it once with one guy in my charter. And after that, if they weren't going to make the grade, I just get rid of, that's it. This isn't for you. The rules. You've had long enough time to get it down. And if you haven't got it down by now, then maybe this isn't for you. You know,
Have you seen a lot of guys get sent down the road?
well, it was kind of like real rare my first, 5 years or so. But then after that, man, and then it was the people that were sent 30-year members, 25-year members, guys, cooperated with law enforcement, or they did this, or, and like Sonny and I had talked, he goes, hey, look, they had options and they chose self-preservation over defending the club. In other words, if you take a deal and you throw away your appeal rights, well, that kind of is self-preservation for you.
But a lot of people have done that, though, in the past. A lot of people have accepted deals and they still let them operate.
Hey, I'm telling you, man, it just, I never thought I'd see it. But then now, these current days, it's commonplace. Every month there's a handful. Oh, did you hear this? Or this guy this and this guy that. And, we have our organization with the ex-members. Well, we're looking and we got 4 new ex-members this month. Well, what happened to you? Well, and end up, a little bit of dirty pool, a little bit of ego, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and guys get bounced.
But you hear stories of people testifying and they're still in.
Well, I know of a few cases right now. That friend of mine in Canada, the guy that told on him, still an active member. And my friend is just like livid about it. I have a friend of mine in Central California, good member, got bounced, but the sneaky, dirty, behind the back bullshit, yeah, okay, if a guy has an issue, right, we're supposed to be brothers and we're supposed to do that. The minute this guy buckles and goes to one knee, you kick him in the face and get rid of him, or do you help him out? Is he worth helping out? In my case and a few other things, I think we should help somebody out. And I have personally done it for members that were on the verge. I said, oh no, I'll take him. I'll work with him the best I can, and as an individual, I have, a club president, but then as an individual, you have feelings too towards people that you've met and hung out with and done all these things and rode across the United States with. It's kind of hard just to kick them in the teeth and say, fuck you, But
did you ever think it would be you that would be leaving after so long?
When it happened to me, I know it was completely 100%, didn't see it coming. I felt a few things that were kind of getting weird about certain situations, and I kind of went, then one day, and I was, like I said, I was very bitter and very mad for like 2 or 3 years. You think about revenge, you think about this, you think about that, and then you get over it. Okay. Like most of the guys and ex-members, it takes a while, but most everybody gets over it.